Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Ramirez. Today's lesson is lesson 1.2 and it's about relations and functions. To begin this, you can look at in the beginning of the chapter in your textbook and there will be a graph there that shows the yearly closing prices of gold. The closing prices are given in the following table. So if you look at this blue table, we have the year Y on the left part of the screen and the numbers going down, and those stand for the years starting from 1966 through 1975. And then you have the closing price P in dollars starting with 35.4 and then ending with 150.8. Here are two graphs of the data shown. The first graph has year on the x-axis, and they call that the Y for year, and they show the closing price in dollars on the y-axis. On the second graph, they flip the axis around. They have the closing price in dollars, P, on the x-axis, and the year Y on the y-axis. Each of these sets of ordered pairs in their graphs shows a relationship between the variables Y and P. So we're showing between Y, the year, and the closing price P in dollars. So let's talk about what a relation is, a relationship. So a relation is any set of ordered pairs. You can see I've written that in that vocab box right there. So it's any set of ordered pairs. In this example, it's Y and P. It could be other things as well. In the relation Y and P, graphed on the left, no two ordered pairs have the same first coordinate. As you can see, I've written in then that as well. So no two ordered pairs have the same first coordinate. Each value of Y relates to one and only one value of P. So for every value of Y, that year, there's only one value of P, so one and only value of P. A relation having this property describes a function, and that's a very important term that you need to understand and learn. So when you have one value of Y relates to one and only, or each value of Y relates to one and only value of P, then that relation describes a function. I filled in the information or the words in for you. Make sure you pause and get those written in. That's just what I've explained when I was talking about it. So let's give a little better definition of a function. If you look in this box here, a function is a relation where no two ordered pairs have the same first component. And if you're talking the dependent variable or that second component, that's what that dependent variable is. It's depending on that first component. So your dependent variable is your second component or your output, and your independent variable or your first component is the input. In the example with the Y and the P in this example, we need to know the year to get it, but we have Y in this example. Okay, finally, if you look at the bottom, down here, when the relationship between two quantities is a function, we say that the dependent variable is a function of the independent variable. In other words, the dependent one is depending on the other one. It is dependent on the independent variable. In our gold example, the price of gold at the end of the year is a function of the year. So the price of the gold is relying on the year. The price of the gold becomes the dependent variable, the end of the year, or the year is the independent variable. Every relation is a function. I also want to explain a function a little bit in more simple terms. It might be easier for you to understand. It's definitely easier for me to understand. So if you think of a function, think of it like a machine. You put in one number, and it changes that number into another number using a rule. Maybe it's multiplying it by 2 or 4 or subtracting 6 every time. But you're putting in one number, and it's turning that number into another one. Every time you put in that number that you put in before, you will always get that same output. So say I put 3 into the machine, and I get output of 6. The next time I put 3 into the machine, I will always get the same output. I should always get 6. The important thing is that it's always one output for every input. 2 inputs can give the same output, but one input cannot have 2 different outputs. So I can't put in the number 3 and get 2 different answers. I can only get that same answer. So that might be a simpler way to understand it. Think about it that way. I'm going to stop this video, and then the next video is going to have some examples that we're going to work through.